Hey y'all, hey, welcome to But Also, the Real Talk podcast for real life moments. If this is your first time joining us, I'm your host, G Dazzle. Some of y'all know me as G Daz, but most of y'all just know me as G, your girl, your friend, your sis who's here to keep it real with you. Now, this podcast is all about diving into life's little moments that don't always fit into a neat little box because life isn't always black and white. Here, we talk about the gray, so both sides of the coin, where two truths can exist, those yes and moments of life, like, oh goodness, where did the first part of the year go? But also, child, I'm okay with the speed because I'm tired of the winter. So here we keep it light, we keep it real, and we keep it all the way honest. So you'll get some laughs, a couple of kikis, and maybe even a moment or two where you'll say, dang, G, you just gonna read my life like that? Yes. Yes, I am. Because we're all living the same life, boo, and that's okay. So whether you're out here trying to figure it all out or just trying to make it through today, got you. So let's talk about the highs, the lows, and all of the messy moments in between. All right, let's get into it. All right, y'all. So, like I said before in the intro, look, it is now March. It is now March, and we are already into the third month of the year. So, this is the time where I wanted to tap in and check in. Now, if you've been rocking with me from the beginning, our very first episode of the year was episode 1, Release, Ready, Reset. And that's where we talked about releasing the things that no longer served us, getting ready for the things that we want to serve us, and then resetting those intentions, those behaviors. So y'all, this is your girl G tapping in with you. Let's talk about it because I know how I've been doing, but I want to know how you all been doing because baby, this year, 2025 has been 2025ing. And I'm not going to say in a bad way. I'm not going to say in a good way. It's just been in a way. So I wanted to keep us all accountable. And for those who want to go back and listen to that episode, I believe it was episode 1. And I'll make sure to drop the link in the show notes for those that are listening. So you can go ahead and refresh yourself. But during that time, I really want to focus on the release and reset part of that conversation. And I want to use this time to tap in and let's think about it because March is here. March is here. January, February are now gone. How are we doing? How are we doing with the release part of things? How are we doing releasing those negative behaviors, those toxic thoughts, those toxic relationships, those friendships, just the things that no longer really served us? How are we doing? And furthermore, let's tap in on the reset because look, sometimes that is way easier said than done. Let me tell you. Because your sis over here, baby, I can't lie, y'all. The struggle has been a little bit real. Now, I'm proud of myself for the things that I have been able to release and let go. But the cold season, has made it hard for your girl. Those who know me know I'm constantly cold. I am constantly cold all the time nowadays. And so it just takes me forever to warm up. And with us being in these wintry months, surrounded by snow and dreariness, for those that are in the snowy filled states, you understand what I'm talking about. It can be a little hard to get that motivation going. And for me, one of the behaviors and resets that I wanted to really focus on myself is my health and fitness journey. And it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. My health and fitness journey has been one that I have been dealing with for years. Now, don't get it twisted. Now, I am at a size that is way lower than where I started in my earlier parts of my life. In the earliest parts of my life, very much early throughout my teens and 20s, and early 30s, your girl was a plush pal. She was a plush pal out here, but don't get it twisted. Face card never declined, okay? It didn't stop nothing. And me being the plush pal that I was determined to be the flyest plush pal that you knew. But however, with that, I wanted to take my health and fitness in control and do better in terms of breaking generational health issues. And I knew that the only way to do that was for me to really just lock in and get my fitness in together. And that's what I did. And I have been able to lose over 150 pounds. Now, that ain't no small feat at all. And it has been a journey, an ever evolving journey. It really has. And I learned a lot about myself during that time. That I was an emotional eater. I was a stress eater. And sugar is my Achilles heel, okay? My friends in the village know me. They know that I am a grazer and a snacker, and G is always gonna want something sweet. I always want something sweet after a meal. Like, I could be stuffed to the masses, and then 20 minutes later, I just want a little something sweet, right? We all been there before. But the thing is, I know for me, I am determined, because this is something that I prayed about for myself in terms of being the healthier version of me, that if I needed to be a fitness girly, then so be it. So be it. But also, the way that those old behaviors of my plush pal ways be creeping in stop me sometimes. And being in cold weather, snowy weather, where it just automatically wants to put you in hibernation mode is not easy. So I am putting myself out there and being transparent in terms of I'm going to call it the yo-yo effect, where it's just like, okay, I got this game plan in my head. I got the plan, the journey, what I'm going to do. I've outlined it. I've thought about it. I've researched it on social media. I've looked at all the various plans, all the various workout tricks and everything. It's just like, all right, come Monday, I'm going to knock it out. Child, Monday came. What didn't get knocked out? It didn't get knocked out. Because some days it is so mental. And I remember seeing this post on Instagram. I don't know if y'all follow him. If you don't, do. T-Pain, that man is hilarious. But also every now and then, T-Pain be dropping some gems and jewels. And something that he said stuck with me. And it was just like, you ever think about something and you have something to do. However, you may procrastinate or put it off. And then the more that you put that something off is the more that you have to do it. And so you're procrastinating to avoid doing the thing that you have to do. But the longer you wait to do it, the more you have to do it. And even though that probably sounds a little bit cray, it made so much sense to me because he was absolutely right. And I am a chronic procrastinator. I am. And I heard somewhere that procrastination sometimes is just a knee-jerk reaction of control or avoidance or any of those things. For me, it's probably a combination of both. And when I procrastinate, it also allows you to fall back into old behaviors that feel familiar. Because even though that they are familiar, it doesn't mean that they're healthy habits. And with them being familiar behaviors and habits, it also gives you a false sense of control. Because it's almost like, you know what? I'm trying to make changes and do different things. However, your body wants to regress to those old behaviors because it feels familiar. So I have control because I'm able to identify or recognize the feelings that I get from it. It's almost like sticking with the devil you know versus the one that you don't. Even though I know it's terrible, I'm still going to do it because I know what to expect. And because I know what to expect, once again, it gives me that false sense of control. However, in order to make change, you have to do something different. And with that, it's going to feel so uncomfortable because it's easy to feel comfortable and content and want to stay in that because you know what to expect. It's easy. And you're cruising by, you're gelling on through. But that doesn't allow the change to come. That doesn't allow or set up space for that reset. And sometimes when you're trying to reset into a space or a version of you that has already happened and has already occurred, sometimes it's hard to redo that. You ever think about it for my listeners that have ever gone or done any type of weight loss journey? And baby, let me tell you, I've done all of the fads, all of them, okay? And it's almost like once you do one and then you're good and it's like, oh, I knocked that out. In your mind, it's like, Now I know that I can do it because I've done it. But sometimes it feels a little bit harder to do it again, especially if you try to do the same thing that you did before. But something that I had to remember or keep in mind as to why it felt different or harder is because I'm trying to achieve a past version of me, trying to achieve results of a version of me that no longer exists because I am no longer that person. I'm not the same person that I was when I first started that journey. I'm not into the same things that I was doing. I don't have the same mental ideals that I had before. I don't even move the same that I did before. So how can I apply the same principles to an old version of me to this new version of me that is not? And so with resetting, sometimes it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. And I hope in that first episode that I didn't talk about it in a way that presented itself to be easy, because it is not. With that being the case, this is my call, my challenge to you all who are down for the cause, and for those who listen and said, you know what, yeah, I got a couple of things I need to release in my life, a couple of behaviors or things I just want to reset for me personally. This is my challenge to you. I'm challenging us to stick to our reset, because it's easy to put something into play and then quit and then stop. And I was listening to a podcast earlier today, one of my favorite podcasts, actually. Shout out to Rob Dial, the Mindset Mentor podcast. If you are not familiar with it, please give it a listen, because Rob be dropping some gems. And something that he said earlier in this podcast that I was listening to is that it's going to be hard. And usually when you are working on changing yourself, when you are working on changing a behavior, when you are working on doing something different, there are a couple of stages and phases of it. And at first, once you are pushing through, it's like, okay, yeah, I got it. But the longer you do it, sometimes it feels even harder as you go through. And that is when those thoughts of wanting to stop creep in, those thoughts of wanting to quit creep in, because it's just like, once again, I already know what to expect if I stop, because I go back to those old states of familiarity. But if I keep going, then what happens? And it's usually at that mental crossroads where our breakthrough is on the way. And you know that phrase, it's always darkest before the light, or it gets worse before it gets better, or that's when things really peak before you break through. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. There have been some things in my life that have challenged me where I think back and like, man, why didn't I keep doing this? Or why didn't I keep that up? And you always look back like, man, if I had stuck with it, I would have been on top of the world by now. But we stopped. And so I'm challenging ourselves, and I'm saying ourselves because I'm putting you and me in this together. So I'm challenging ourselves to not give up, to push through those moments where you want to stop. Because something else that Rob Dial said in his podcast that really just kind of stuck with me is, when you feel your mind going to those old thoughts of wanting to stop, of wanting to give up, of wanting to quit, that's when you should really think to yourself, oh, shoot, damn, I must be really on to something, because the urge to stop means that I am nearing my breakthrough. The urge to quit means that I am almost at the finish line. And usually when it hurts the most and you feel the most pressure, that's when you're about to make it, baby. That is when you're about to make it. It's like that phrase goes, how are diamonds made? Through pressure. Pressure. So now it's time to apply the pressure. And no more half-assing it, no more kind of sort of doing it, releasing it a little bit, semi-resetting. It's time to tap in. And for some reason, those words have just been in my head on repeat. Tap in, G, tap in. And as simple as those words may be, they carry a lot of weight, because I myself know that anything I put my mind to, I can achieve. And I know that that is the same thing for you. Anything that you apply yourself to, anything that you are dedicated and consistent and committed to, even if you are taking imperfect action and you just keep going day by day, you will get better. You will get stronger. You will get all of the things and the results that you were looking for. And it may not happen right away. And that's usually where the hang up happens. Especially in today's day of instant gratification. Your girl over here is guilty of being so impatient, so impatient. So this is something that I'm saying to you, but I'm really saying to us being me and you, is that results take time, no matter what they are, whether they're physical, mental, emotional, professional, whatever those results are, that growth that you are trying to stretch into, those next steps that you are trying to take, those next levels that you are trying to reach, do not happen overnight. And even if you were thinking about those people you see on social media, the influencers, whether they're into fitness, travel, food, whatever their niche may be, it wasn't an overnight thing. They worked to it. And with that, a lot of times it's really easy to get caught up in looking into other people's lives and how they did it and where they're at. And it's just like, dang, how come I'm not where they're at right now? And it's crazy. I just had this conversation with someone. I'll give it a little sneak peek. I won't give too much about it, but I talked about this briefly about the word should. And should, ooh, baby, should is a little fickle word, ain't it? Because it has so much weight. And should has this authority on it that makes you feel like you're missing something. Like I should be doing this, or I should have achieved this in my life, or I should have been at this point by now. And I was a big shoulder. I was a big shoulder. And then someone asked me the question. They was like, gee, but according to who? Who said that? Who said you should be at this point by now? On whose authority said that this is the standard of should that you should be shoulding? So there's definitely something to keep in mind with that. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in your head and with other people's outcomes. And the thing to remember is a lot of us out here walking around shining, a lot of us don't look like what we've been through. And sometimes all we see is the glory, and we know not a nail part of the story. And that's the part that we have to keep in mind, is that we see the mansion, but we never got a chance to see the brick that built it, that laid the foundation when it was just a single plot. I know that was a heck of a visual, but if you with me, you with me. So with that, like I said before, challenging us to stay within the reset and to keep pushing through. And when you start having those thoughts of, I want to quit, or maybe I'll delay it, or I'll procrastinate it, or maybe I'll start tomorrow, just do it. Just do it. Because the longer you put off the thing you got to do, the more you got to do the thing you got to do. And guess what? It's time to tap in. So let's tap in to do the thing that we need to do. Let's cross it off the list. Let's get it started. Let's set the new behaviors. And even when you're on the brink of wanting to stop, just remember, hey, if I'm feeling that, if I mentally feel like I want to stop, or if I feel like, you know what, this is just too much, or it's gotten too hard, remember that is what your body wants to do, because that is your body's last ditch effort of trying to get you to fall back into a familiar space that it thinks is controlling versus you embracing the new space that you're creating for yourself, the new opportunity, the new behaviors, the new mindset, and allowing you to do that. So tap in. It's time to tap in, y'all. It is time to tap in. So I know this is a little bit of a short episode, but this was just on my heart today. So I just had to talk to y'all real, raw, authentically, just for a second. And if you enjoyed this, hey, share it with the cousins and the friends, because I know I'm not the only one who feels like how I'm feeling. I know I'm not. And if you're feeling what I'm feeling, you're like, ooh, you know what? That is a word. hey, this was a good check-in because I'm going to hold us accountable. And keyword, I said us, not you, not me, but us, because we're all living the same life. I'm holding us accountable. Let's tap in. Tap in. So that's all that I got for us today. And thank you so much for listening. And that is a wrap on today's episode of But Also, the Real Talk podcast for real life moments. And if you're feeling what you heard, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, so you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, like I said before, share it with the cousins, share it with the friends, and spread the words of those you think who will get a little something out of this episode. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at @ButAlso_podcast for more real talk, behind the scenes moments, and all the vibes in between. So thanks for kicking it with me. And until next time, keep on keeping on, keep on thriving and surviving, embracing all of your moments, the good, the messy, and everything in between. All right, y'all. I'll holla.